Hey there, friends and enemies. JoPa writes here once again, and today I have a brand new Writer's Thoughts. This is the podcast where we talk about all of your favorite geeky gaming, streaming, superhero stuff that you guys love, and so do I. I hope you have been enjoying the episodes. We're dropping on Spotify, YouTube, all those kind of platforms. So make sure you hit that like button, you hit the heart, subscribe, leave a comment, all that kind of stuff. It helps us in the ratings, helps us get seen. You're going to hear the dogs a little bit more than normal today, and the reason for that is we have a very special guest, my wife, Miss JoPa, aka Veronica Joan, aka Little Red on PlayStation. So, how are you doing today? How's it going? Do you think the dogs will let us record this whole thing, or are we going to have to cut it off?
You're going to be doing a lot more editing than you're used to doing, that's for sure. Ari is laying by my feet, and she is talkative. I don't know if y'all have ever heard Aria moo on stream, but she's going to moo today.
We have 3 dogs, two pit bull mixes, 1 King Corso. The middle one is the 100-pound baby who needs all the attention.
She's a mama's girl.
And then, but yeah, she can't be in here recording without the dog just needing absolutely all of the attention. I think she hears us talking about her right now.
She just made eye contact with me and wiggled her tail. Like, she knows we're talking about her.
Oh, no.
Whether she's going to complain about it will be another thing.
Yeah, well, so for those of you who haven't had the pleasure of meeting her, we've gamed together sometimes while I'm streaming. She's on Twitter a bit. She also does her own writing thing. We're both huge nerds. So tell the folks a little bit about your nerd history, what you're into, all that kind of good stuff.
I am on slight opposite ends of the nerd spectrum. Like, I grew up playing video games, but like old PlayStation games like Oddworld and Guitar Hero, and like
Pokemon.
Pokemon is still one of my favorites. We have the Switch, and did I beat that game in like 3 days?
Yeah.
Which it just worked out because I was like sick that weekend, but yeah, I don't think I put it down. Like, I play Pokemon the way I read books. Like, I'll play until I can't see straight anymore.
Hardcore binger. And then we play Pokemon Go together as well.
Yeah, but mostly, like, I don't play video games the way you play video games. I would prefer to just, like, crush out a book and read until, like, 3 or 4 in the morning until, like, the words are fuzzy. But I go gear more towards the reading and art spectrum of stay-at-home nerddom.
No one ever has to worry about me keeping those real gamer hours late at night because she'll be cooped up in a book and not even realize I'm not paying attention to her. So
oh yeah, no, there are times you'll stumble in at like 1 or 2 and I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna finish this chapter, and then we'll watch a show and pass out, and I'll be reading 2 or 3 hours after you've fallen asleep, just desperately trying to finish it so my eyes don't fall out of my head.
yeah, it's pretty ridiculous, but it's a lot of fun because we have a lot of similarities there. We're going to get into some of the fantasy aspects, the things that we enjoy, whether it's reading or writing. In her case, I used to do a bit more writing, but don't do that as much anymore. She is the definitive writer of the group now when it comes to fiction. Now, we would be remiss if we didn't kick this off with a bit of MCU talk, though. We have watched almost all of the MCU stuff together lately, whether it's WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, we watched the first episode, the movies, we always go see them, so we are big fans of the MCU, and I know we each have our preferences, our favorites. What of the recent movies or shows that we've watched, what's been your favorite, what's your favorite character, all that kind of good stuff?
Well, movie-wise, I guess for a while I really nerded out on Captain Marvel. Like, I went and got the jacket and watched the movies, and I really, really liked her character. We just rewatched, what were the 2 that we just rewatched?
Infinity War and Endgame.
Yeah, those were really good. I loved WandaVision. Especially, like, I know the first 3 episodes were kind of strange, but they really brought me back to, like, the I Love Lucy and, like, Golden Girls days of, like, staying at home and watching TV.
Quickly, I just wanted to say there will be spoilers for both WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, so if you need to cut ahead to later in the podcast, just understand we are talking everything that's already been released up to this point. So go ahead.
Oh, and then we watched The Winter Soldier and Falcon this morning. So that was really good, and they're really different, but both were really, really good in different ways, I think. I can't think of anything else that we've watched recently.
That's a good point, and that's one of the things I appreciate so much about the MCU and about the way they've built their characters, their shows, and their movies. Everything feels like it fits within the universe, but it's also unique, right? Mm-hmm. Guardians of the Galaxy felt so different from anything we had seen at the time. Thor Ragnarok felt so different from anything we'd seen at the time. And nothing has been like the first Captain America. So they all have their different roles in the universe, and seeing the shows from WandaVision and now to Falcon and the Winter Soldier feels so very different, gives me heart, because one of the mistakes that I see with other universes, whether it's like CW and their like Arrowverse, oftentimes everything feels like just a spin-off of the same type of thing. Like, yeah, they have their unique twist with the different characters, but where do you stand on that? How do you feel about that as well?
Well, one thing that I really like about the MCU is not only like the growth of like the universe itself, but also like the continuation of the little things, right? Like the card trick that was originally shown by, I think it was like Ant-Man,
yep.
Right? And then showed up in WandaVision. Rayla liked it too. And how like you can see like the time passing and continuation of the universe with like the again in WandaVision with what was her name, where she was like the daughter of the girl from Captain Marvel.
Oh, Monica Rambeau.
Yeah. So it's neat to see like the growth and continuation, but also like the little things that they don't forget, and that's something I also like about like the books too, when they have like little throwbacks, little nods to things that didn't seem significant, but is like mind blowing when you catch them.
Yeah, exactly. And again, we're gonna have a lot of dog action here today. We have Zara, Rayla, and Arya all in here at once. They are battling for airtime that we won't give them. So yeah, it's a bit of a mess in the studio right now, but that's what's going to be going on in the background for sure. I 100% agree with you on that. I think the nods to the past stuff is great, and then the hints towards the future. You never know until you look back how long they've been teasing something, mm-hmm. or an appearance, a revelation, all that kind of stuff. And I really like that about the universe as well. They do a fantastic job of world building, and it's something that, going back to the fantasy aspect, that's when you're creating a universe, that's what you want to see. You want to see everything be connected, but feel like its own thing. And the MCU does the best job of that. I feel like that's where we're going to watch the Snyder Cut of Justice League tonight. I feel like one of the big problems they've had is a lot of their stuff doesn't feel as connected. It doesn't feel like I don't have a reason to really get invested in the characters, as they rushed some things and they didn't. They had a lot of teasers of stuff that happened, but not enough full information. Like, we don't know what happened with Robin. Joker's teased a little bit. He's in there, but he's not really that prominent. There's a lot of missing pieces that. With something as big as the MCU, there's going to be things that are missed over time. But for the most part, they do a fantastic job of covering their bases, teasing things, setting them up, and then delivering later on. Or the red herrings like we saw in WandaVision with fake Quicksilver. You know? So stuff like that is really cool because it kind of teases your expectations. But it doesn't always go exactly as you think it might go. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, it keeps it from being predictable. And like it not only keeps it exciting, but it's like those little things where, like what you said, like credit to the world building and the little nods to things where they give it just enough attention for you to remember it when they do a callback on it.
Yeah, exactly.
But not enough for you to call it long term because they're little things.
Yeah. And again, that card trick is probably one of the defining moments as far as, holy shit, very few people would have caught that. But then when you watch them kind of paired together, you're like, that blows my mind that they evolved this minor character. And then that's part of the reason why you see people calling for him to get his own show with Darcy as like an X-Files type mutant chasing or alien chasing show, and it's because they do such a good job of building these characters out who otherwise are not mainstays of the universe, and I feel like that's huge. The one place that they've struggled in the past is with villains, and even in WandaVision, I don't feel like the villain was, her motivations were not something that you could relate to. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think her motivations made sense because she wanted her power. Like, she had been the most powerful witch. You know, right? Took down the whole, like, group of witches that were trying to control her back in the day, and she wanted more and saw that Wanda had it. Couldn't really figure out how to use it, but she thought she did. So all she needed to do was get her hands on it, right? But, like, I think they revealed the villain really late in the season. So there wasn't, I think, a kind of, like, harkening back to, like, the Game of Thrones final season. It could have been fantastic. It just didn't have the time. I think an extra episode or two would have made a difference.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the way they set her up as a villain to have her be the mastermind behind everything was great.
Yeah.
I just think ultimately the motivation of I just want all the power kind of falls flat eventually. And unfortunately, because the episodes were so short, you didn't really have a chance to deep dive into like more than just her wanting a lot of power. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
I think they did really well with her character development, going from taking her from like that seemingly just another pawn in the game to she's starting to realize the things that aren't normal when the other people aren't, and then she's completely okay with it, and you can tell like she is the most aware character other than Wanda and Vision, even sometimes more than Vision.
Yeah.
But again, yeah, I think like her character was great and well thought out and had a lot of development. I think her character as the villain in the end needed a little bit more time.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, and I think it's one of the things that we're going to see a completely different story to that, though, in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Because Zemo, we've seen.
Yeah.
He is from Civil War. His motivations, the way he disrupts the team in Civil War was excellent. And now we're going to see the evolution of that in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So he is one of the characters, and we're going to see it in the next Marvel series with Loki. Those are two of the better villains that we've seen within the universe because they've had time to expand upon why they are, what they want to do. The other one that that was really good was Killmonger because he was a relatable story.
Yeah.
You know, too often these big bads, even Thanos to an extent, he was actually where I think we've seen a turning point in some of the villains because his motivations are evil but understandable, almost.
Well, yeah, he was weirdly relatable, right? Because you know exactly why he's doing it the whole time. He's very clear about the way that he feels about it. It's just the question of, like, it's wrong, but is his outcome something he is, like, worth killing half of the population?
No, exactly.
Of different planets over, you know? Like, the outcome, sure, he's, like, it's outcome based. It's, you know, it's going to be better in the end, and the sacrifice will be worth it.
And he also had the benefit again of 10 years and 2 full movies of build, right? Mm-hmm. And sometimes we get villains like you saw in Thor 2, the Dark Elves. Their motivations are just like kind of generic supervillain type stuff.
Yeah.
And I think as we start to go forward in the MCU, where they can have success is you look at Kingpin and the Daredevil show.
I loved Kingpin.
My favorite villain in all of cinema, television, etc. in superhero genre. Like
they do such a tremendous job of making you hate him and then making you understand and almost like pity him.
Yeah.
And then you're connected and you're like, but I want to keep hating him, but now I don't fully hate him.
If they could bring him into the next Spider-Man, that would be perfect.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
I feel like he's one of the best villains in the whole shebang. And it's something that I really, going forward, I really hope that they focus and they expand and they build these villains because they do such a good job with the heroes. And sometimes the villains, for whatever reason, because it's the hero story, they're lackluster. But I feel like in general, the movies and the hero is better off with a better villain.
Well, yeah. I think it's the villain is half the story.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's very interesting because I do want to see going forward, like we know who the villain is in the ultimate villain is within Falcon and the Winter Soldier. For the first episode, though, the change of pace between that and WandaVision was fantastic because it shows how different the shows are going to be. Loki might not even have like a real villain. It might be him as an anti-hero or as a villain, you know what I'm saying, within the story, but just told his way. And then that show is going to be very, very different from Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So overall, we're seeing the versatility, and that's where I'm most excited. What did you think of the first episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier? What was your favorite part?
I think, and I know this isn't necessarily like a part of the show itself that we watched this morning, but the thing that I really appreciated was they took, two Avengers and they really humanized them in showing like their background and how, can I spoil things?
Yeah.
Okay. And how like the Winter Soldier, he's got his little list of things that he's, trying to make amends on or at least just kind of improve, maybe whether it's for himself or for the people that he's trying to fix, but that like internal struggle. And also even with Falcon and his sister and like the family's business and feeling like he can always swoop in and save things, but knowing that even just from the first episode, like from the sister's perspective, that's her brother, but like he's not a superhero to her. He's kind of in her way on like what she feels like is the thing that has to be done.
Yeah.
And it's really an interesting way to look at characters, and it's something I really like when in any universe building. It's not the primary character, even as an Avenger, is not always good to everybody. He's not always the hero in every situation.
Well, you look at WandaVision was a great example of that as well.
Yeah.
All those people, all the people in the town that she had trapped, right? She's the villain in that story to them.
Yeah.
Not only that, but like you talk about humanizing your characters, right? You humanize Falcon. He struggles with taking up the mantle of Captain America. He doesn't feel like he's deserving of filling that role. He's got family who don't know him. He was gone 5 years because of the snap. And then even when he's back, he's not really back because he's away doing his Falcon thing. Then you got Bucky, who's isolated, alone. His only friend for forever is now gone. Old man, and so he's left to try to figure out the world, much like Cap did originally.
Yeah.
But Cap had a better support system because he had people who were surrounding him trying to help him. Bucky is purposely removing himself because of all the bad things he's done, and they're trying to make amends, like you said. And then you got Wanda, who is dealing with immense grief over losing her brother, her love, her everything, know? So all of these kind of show, and that's where I feel like TV, you're almost, because of how many episodes you're able to put in and break it up, you're almost better able to capture some of that. You're almost with you know what I'm saying? Like Iron Man was great, and you got to understand his motivations, everything over the course of multiple movies. But not every character is going to get all of these movies. So having these TV shows with characters who you almost wish you had gotten to know sooner,
right,
is huge.
Yeah. But the one thing I think you're absolutely right on that I really, really liked about Wanda in WandaVision, especially in the way that it ended, was not only like her kind of realization of what was happening and that she was in control, but that end phrase of, when she was like, they'll never know what you did for them, what you sacrificed for them. And she goes, but it wouldn't matter anyway.
Yeah.
I'm not going to change their minds. And she just has to walk away knowing that, even as an Avenger, as a hero who, like, has done all these kinds of things and saved a bunch of people. And
literally saved the world. Yeah.
is still going to be a villain in all of these people's stories, and kind of for a just cause, like she did torment them for however long that took place, but unmeaning, I guess.
Yeah, and it's hard because you think about superpowered beings, right? In a world dealing with real life issues and how they handle them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's got to be something that in a lot of movies you never see, you never touch on, right?
Right.
Because you just don't have the time.
No.
That's where Marvel being able to build this for so long and having this long-term vision is so important to the storytelling, because they're able to really elaborate on things and on characters who deserve that time and just wouldn't otherwise have gotten it. And you hit on more personal stories that are not like in the movie. Oftentimes, if someone like when Quicksilver dies, right? You have a short amount of time where you're grieving. You show the character upset, and then they're out for revenge, and then they fight back, blah, blah, blah. But you don't get to go through the full stages of grief like you would in WandaVision.
Right. No, it's true. I love a main character who is not perfect, and they're not trying to fix anything that does come up, making them look, imperfect or anything less than human. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think it's very telling that Marvel is going down this path, and it's something that, again, is it's better. TV is a better medium for that than movies are in general. Movies, especially when you go to the theater, right? You want the big action scenes. You want the hilarious laughs. You want everything's a little bit more over the top. Where on TV, I feel like you're able to get more down to earth and more grounded and realistic. Even in WandaVision, which isn't realistic in the normal sense, you're still able to get to like more human emotions.
Yeah, I think there's just more time to connect. There's more screen time for the most part over the course of a series than there is, over the course of an hour and a half, 2 hours in a movie theater.
Well, yeah, and also, like I said, I think the expectations when you go to a movie, especially a superhero movie, are different than if you're sitting down to watch a TV show.
Yeah.
So, like, you are expecting, like, you in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, there are some fight scenes, right? But you're gonna spend more time because it's a TV show, character building, and I think that's just because you have now it's gonna be like over 5 hours of TV rather than the 2+ hours of movie. Plus, you don't have the same expectations to be like keep someone enthralled for the full 2.5 hours of a movie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You got to keep people's attention in a way that's easier to do in shorter spurts on TV.
I can see that, especially I guess with this genre in particular. Like
other
genres, that really doesn't stand. But in this genre, I could see that. How it's mostly like I want to see big explosions and crazy fight scenes in a movie, but I can tolerate less in a TV show.
Yeah, I think the other thing is that Marvel's also changing some of the expectations with that. Like, obviously, Infinity War and Endgame are heavy with fan service, right? There's a lot of those movies that are set up specifically to get big reactions from folks in the theater or even at home. But like it's set up to get big reactions. Not every show or movie is going to be set up like that. And I think the way Marvel does it, and they don't have to worry about that as much on TV or in some of their movies, I think it's a good thing. Like Captain America wielding the hammer. That was teased and set up for so long, but that was so people could go absolutely apeshit in the theater, and the reactions were amazing. I know I went bananas when it happened.
No, that's true. That's true. That's one of my favorite moments in that whole show movie.
It's so good. So now we'll go to a little bit of a transition into where the MCU is going from here, and like kind of what we're looking forward to the most. We have Loki coming out. We have Armor Wars. We have a Secret Wars with Nick Fury. Doctor Strange movie We have a Spider-Man movie. Another Ant-Man's coming out eventually. We've got Black Panther on the way down the line. Um, of the things that have kind of been shown and teased so far, what are you looking forward to? What are you excited about?
I don't know. Maybe it's just because it is one of my favorite characters, but I think Loki would make the top of that list for me.
Yeah.
Just because, the God of Mischief in general, his character was amazing, and he.
Don't forget, this is I forgot about this one. Guardians of the Galaxy with Thor.
Yeah. No, that's gonna be hysterical.
That's
too.
gonna be a banger.
I just think Loki's gonna have some real like Deadpool vibes that I can get behind, and personally, I think that's gonna be one of my favorites.
Yeah, they're definitely not gonna go rated R.
No.
I know
he's sarcastic and witty and a little dark and not afraid to not be perfect, and I really like that.
It'll be interesting because I'm pretty sure it's gonna follow the Loki that escaped with the Tesseract. But it'll be interesting the time frames that it all takes place, and if he interacts with other characters within the MCU.
Yeah.
Or if he tries to be covert and do his own thing. I think after the teases from WandaVision, I am incredibly hyped for the Doctor Strange movie.
Yeah, that would have been my second.
Wanda's going to be in it. She teased her kids still being around, right? She's got the Darkhold, which is the book.
Yeah.
Which a lot of characters in the comics are looking to take over. So that's probably going to be central to the plot. And then just knowing that it's kind of a multiverse type of idea and it's leading into Spider-Man, with Spider-Man eventually being in, or Doctor Strange being in the Spider-Man movie as well, is kind of crazy. I think that has me most excited. But I will say also the Eternals. That is a movie which I'm really looking forward to because the cast is absolutely stacked. They have a chance to. So you probably never saw this. I watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for a long time, and they had a tease and a spinoff of the Inhumans, which is some mutants, not mutants, but Inhumans, who are on the moon, right, led by the King Black Bolt, who can't talk because his superpower is like he'll destroy everything basically with his voice, But it was I was looking forward to it because it had some good casting, but it just wasn't very good.
Okay.
Which was annoying to me because it's a franchise that I think could be really, really good, but just wasn't handled very well.
Yeah.
So now the Eternals,
I haven't seen much for the Eternals.
Oh, look at the cast. It's got Jon Snow.
Yeah, Kit Harington.
Yeah, it's got Rob Stark.
Gemma Chan. She was in one of my favorite Crazy Rich Asians movie. I watched that a bunch of times.
Yeah, it's got Angelina Jolie, I think, is in it. But I'm just saying, as far as star power, it's a really stacked movie, and it's going to take place very separate from the traditional MCU as far as power levels and as far as how the characters are handled, in my opinion. So I feel like because there's so much unknown around that, that's why I'm excited about it, because all the other properties, I kind of have an idea on how they're going to go.
Yeah.
Whereas that one's just kind of, who knows what's going to happen.
Rumble session.
Yeah, the dogs are fighting. Like, if we don't pay attention to them for 5 minutes, they just start to battle each other.
Isn't that Arya? Arya's napping right there in front of you.
No, it's Zara and Rayla. They won't stop, like, jumping on each other and being loud and jingling their collars. Maybe we should have took their collars off.
Do you want me to go take their collars off? Really?
No, you're fine. It's just I know it's gonna be a lot of jingling in the background, but that's just what you guys know, that the dogs are here. They're getting their attention from each other and from you guys. So, oh, there she is. Anyway, so I feel like, yeah, I think there's a lot of exciting times. Now, briefly, have you heard anything about the Zack Snyder cut, or are you kind of going in blind?
Mostly blind. Since we talked about seeing it today, I did a little bit of research, but I think this one, just having watched the previous movie, I kind of want to go into it, I guess, slightly willingly blind.
Yeah.
Just because I'm hoping it's going to be a massive improvement.
So I've seen some people, a lot of people, more than I expected, praising it on Twitter and social media. Other people definitely don't like it, and especially because it's 4 hours long. One of the most interesting things that I've seen, though, is that because Warner Brothers took it originally from Zack Snyder,
Yeah,
and gave it to Joss Whedon, right? They've almost not wanted to promote it as heavily, not wanted to give him the same kind of backing because it's not going anywhere.
Henry Cavill just had a post on a couple of his social media pages, like, praising him for it.
The actors around it are excited about it. The other directors are excited, like the Russo brothers from Endgame.
Yeah.
Are stoked about it. Like they're hyping it up. Ryan Reynolds, all those kind of people, they're all very excited about the Snyder Cut. And DC, I think part of the problem is they don't have a future with him going in it.
Yeah.
So this isn't going to be part of their full universe.
Of course.
Even though it should be, in my opinion, because from the sounds of it, a lot of the characters who were underutilized or underappreciated or not very well liked in the original Justice League get a bit more shine and a bit more love in this one.
Which is, I think, what I'm more excited for. Like, I know it's going to be awesome. I don't know how the hell I'm going to sit still for 4 hours, but I love a lot of those characters, and I think having them get a little bit more screen time and see, like, more of their backstories, or just, like, have them have more of an opportunity for screen time is going to be really, really exciting.
When we talk about how well Marvel does with their world building, DC has been the opposite.
Yeah.
Whether it's Suicide Squad, and that's a solid movie in my opinion. I know a lot of people didn't like it.
I loved Suicide Squad.
But they rushed a lot of things, right?
Yeah, they did.
And it doesn't. If you're gonna do Suicide Squad, it's got to be rated R.
Right.
It's got to be like it felt like a Guardians of the Galaxy style Suicide Squad. But like that's not the tone that group is supposed to have.
No, not at all.
So that's a big problem. And Harley Quinn being the main focal point is good because she's been one of the best things in the DCEU, besides Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
But even I mean we didn't even watch 1984, and by all accounts that movie is not great.
I know.
So I don't know. DC just their lack of a single direction, a long-term plan, and cohesive world building has cost them. I feel like Henry Cavill as Superman is good.
I think he's been the best Superman.
Ben Affleck, Christopher Reeves back in the day was amazing, but that's a whole.
I don't remember him.
Yeah, that's before you. That's before your time. Those movies were fantastic. Ben Affleck, I think, gets a lot of heat for his Batman, but I think that's because of the way the movies are and not because of his Batman. They don't give Flash enough time. They don't give Cyborg enough time. Aquaman, okay, so here's a little offshoot that I'm going to go on. Aquaman, Superman, and Wonder Woman don't feel like they use their unique powers enough, and they just feel like super strong people.
Yeah, I feel like in the last cut, Aquaman was like comedic relief almost.
Yeah, but he was also like super powered, but like not like he didn't use his Aquaman shit.
No, he almost wasn't there as an extra superhero. He was like a lot of his moments were just funny or like.
Yeah, I feel like in Batman versus Superman, we saw a bit more of Wonder Woman using some of her bracelets, that kind of stuff. we didn't see that enough in the original Justice League to separate her and make her feel, because like one of the biggest problems with DC compared to Marvel is a lot of power overlap, right? A lot of their abilities and stuff kind of crosses over in ways that I feel like it can get muddled if you don't use their specific abilities in a way that makes them shine in that direction, right? So yeah, overall, I'm excited about watching the Zack Snyder cut. I think the Suicide Squad rebootish with James Gunn has potential to be really good, but other than that, I don't have a lot of faith in we've got the Robert Pattinson Batman movie that's coming.
I'm kind of excited for that one.
It could be good.
It just looks so different.
Here's my problem though. We've seen Batman too many times.
Yeah.
DC has all of these characters who they don't use or barely use, right? And they're well-known big-name characters. But instead they just go back to the well of Superman and Batman time and time and time and time and time and time and time. And so what ends up happening now is like no one owns that character anymore, right? Captain America is great because Chris Evans is Captain America.
Yeah, that's
you know what I'm
saying?
Iron Man, the same thing.
Yeah, there's never gonna be like another Iron Man.
There's too many. Same thing with the Joker movie not being like in the universe. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. The one with the Joaquin Phoenix. It's like that was a fine standalone movie, but we don't need multiple Jokers right now. We don't need multiple Batmans, multiple Supermans, etc. I'm excited about Black Adam and The Rock because he's killed everything he's been a part of lately. And I feel like maybe that'll be like a reboot as well. But I think the Robert Pattinson Batman movie has potential to be a good movie. I think it's not a good movie for the DCEU though. And that's the difference.
Yeah.
So unless they're doing a bunch of standalone saying, okay, these are all part of different multiverses and they're just going to do their own thing and not cross over. But one of the reasons that Marvel's done such a great job is because they build towards these things like the Avengers.
Right. For years. Like in multiple movies, they'll have little hidden gems for like things that are coming through. But do you have familiarity with like Black Adam in previous, like in the DC world before? Because I don't. This is the one that's coming up is going to be the first thing I've ever seen.
So basically he's nemesis of Shazam. He's from like ancient Egypt. Kind of like godlike treated as back in the day. Starts off in the comics as a villain, straight up villain, very evil, and then goes into more recent times he's been more of an anti-hero. So I have a feeling they're gonna go with him as an anti-hero, but they may touch on him being more villainous in the beginning and then transitioning a la Loki or someone like that.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, he's got a lot of powers, contending with Superman type of level. And
this is gonna be like a weird full circle for The Rock, just within like his acting career from like where he started, and now he's playing like this like anti-hero from ancient Egypt, like full circle.
The Scorpion King. Yeah. It's interesting.
Back when he had hair, and now that he's still acting and doesn't.
Oh man.
Way back to the basics.
I like all of his movies. I'm excited to see. This thing has been kind of teased and talked about for so long. I think he signed on to play Black Adam years ago.
Yeah.
And so, like, as much as I'm excited to see that project, I just don't see what's going to happen with the DCEU. The Flash, are we going to get a Green Lantern movie? Obviously, the old one was terrible, but like you could do a Cosmos. So the Green Lantern Corps is like throughout the universe, the multiverse or whatever. And so you could have a movie in space with the Green Lanterns, right? Just like you saw Captain Marvel, Guardians of the
Right.
Galaxy, that kind of thing. And so you can make it less grounded. The problem with like the Justice League movies and stuff like that is a lot of them take place on Earth, and it's like all this wanton destruction. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's just
No, I'd
crazy.
be down for a full space movie. I think that like really feeds into like the high fantasy things that I enjoy, because then you're eliminating some of the things that will hold you down. Like,
Well, that's why Captain Marvel stays in space, right? Because if you have her down on Earth, she's overpowered for a lot of the challenges.
Yeah, she doesn't. Nobody else really stands a chance. I thought it was interesting that they involved like the Kree down here, and like they're like even touched on that in WandaVision.
Yeah.
At the very end. But yeah, that's about as far as you can get. So I think taking it into a different realm, like space, where maybe the playing field is either completely different or at least a little more even, would be really interesting.
Or like we're probably gonna see in Doctor Strange, different universe type of thing.
A different universe would be nice, because even if it's in
Well, not even a different like a hell type.
Like a whole different realm in
Realm,
general.
yeah,
not a universe.
Stuff like that, and that's where you look at Thor and Loki and them, right?
Yeah.
All of that built with them being in their own space, and I think that's important when you have these crazy strong characters who occasionally lack the motivation, like the down to earth realism that's needed for movies that take place on Earth.
Yeah, I think even in Endgame, I think Captain Marvel had said like the Earth has the Avengers, like all these other places don't. But is that still hinting that there's still no one as strong? Like she is the Avengers on all of these different planets for all these different like alien species, and there really is nobody to rival her.
Well, no, I mean maybe, but also like maybe she's the only one that's on
Policing them, I guess.
policing on their side.
Yeah, I
right?
could see that.
There's probably other beings that are super strong out there, but who knows what their motivations are, whose side they're on, what they're trying to do. So.
It would be interesting to see a continuation of that with her in space instead of her just coming down to kick Thanos' ass for a second and then.
Now that Monica Rambeau has powers, we'll see if she goes up and helps out.
Yeah.
Captain Marvel. I think that'd be a good team. There'd probably be some conflict there.
Plus, they didn't really clarify what her powers were in WandaVision. Like
she goes
hinted
jelly.
It hinted at
like full
couple,
Jello.
Like things she could do, but not like the full scope of what she's going to be capable of.
Yeah, it's interesting. We diverted right from DC back to Marvel just because we connect so much more to that universe than we do the DC one, and I'm hoping that changes in the future because I feel like both being good will benefit everybody.
Yeah.
In the long run, but unfortunately that has not been the case.
And I do love I'm not as familiar with DC, but I do love like the story of Superman. I love me some Henry Cavill, which is also why I think I absolutely love The Witcher at first. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see a little bit more from them.
Speaking of The Witcher, we are both huge into high fantasy stuff, right? Whether it's your writing, reading, I've been big into Lord of the Rings. We watched all of Game of Thrones together multiple times, some of the episodes, including the last season. Don't hate us for that. But The Witcher, we watched things like The Dragon Prince, which is obviously a cartoon.
Yeah.
So we're big into the...
We named our dog after a character in The Dragon Prince.
Exactly. We're big... Arya is named after a character from the...
I don't think we were hiding the fact that we're massive nerds. I don't think that was gonna...
But the interesting part is that we've got so many outlets for the high fantasy stuff now that we probably didn't have. We've got the Lord of the Rings movies. There's a Lord of the Rings show coming to HBO.
Oh, for real?
Uh-huh.
Wait, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's fully been announced.
We need to rewatch the movies together before that.
Yeah, I know you haven't seen them in a while, but they're some of my favorite movies. They're just long as hell.
No, I think I would thoroughly enjoy it, and the length of the movie doesn't bother me at all because when I see clips, like it's I really enjoy it, but I haven't watched it since I was a lot younger because that's when they came out.
Yeah, we might not watch all of the Hobbit ones, maybe over time, but the Lord of the Rings trilogy is a banger. But yeah, Witcher season 2 is coming out. So, what draws you to high fantasy? What is it that you really dig, whether it's in your writing or your reading or your TV shows?
Well, okay, so it's a couple things, and it's also kind of been a slow progression to high fantasy. Because when I first started reading, um, and like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I've binged books for, I mean, since I was probably in at least high school, but when I first started reading, the thing that was fascinating for me was, like, the human side of things, and, like, the reason why people think the way they think, or what is influencing them, and, like, I really liked the track of being, like, a profiler for the FBI, and so I watched Criminal Minds and The Mentalist, and, like, using people's thought processes against them and things like that were what was kind of fascinating, so I drifted more towards, like, mysteries and thrillers, and then I got tired of humans. And it just wasn't exciting enough, I guess. And that's, I think, where, and also, as I was in high school, Twilight comes out. Vampire Diaries came out. I mean, I think Vampire Diaries was, like, 17 seasons. That was, like, my entire high school career. And I think it only just ended, like, a year or two ago. So, I mean, so it kind of, I think my fascination went from humans to vampires, to, like, mer people, werewolves, things that could kind of hide seemingly kind of unnoticed amongst humans. And then it kind of turned, like, all right, now we're moving from the things that can hide amongst the humans to full fucking blown monsters. And, like, you have the thing that crawls out of the lake in The Witcher in the beginning, and, like, things that are just not, they're preternatural, like, they're otherworldly entirely. And I think I really like it, because then you lose everything that holds you down to not only reading a book that's based on Earth, but also writing a book that's based on Earth, because you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, I started off huge into fantasy. I played Warhammer when I was a kid. I read Lord of the Rings, Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I read The Wheel of Time. Big into those. Started playing high fantasy video games. I play all the Dragon Age games and Skyrim and all that stuff. So that stuff's always been super interesting to me. I've only, interestingly enough, just started getting into the vampires and werewolves. I think I started watching the originals with you.
Oh, the originals was good.
And that's what got me down that path a little bit more. But yeah, so when Game of Thrones came out, I had read the books. And the show is just tremendous. Obviously, the final season, like we said, gets a lot of flack. But, like, overall, you can't discount how anticipated each and every episode was.
Yeah.
And it was crazy. Who's your favorite character?
In Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to go basic bitch. I mean, it's Daenerys.
Yeah. So...
I love a good, like, come up from nothing, take over, be a badass, and then sure, if you have to be the villain at the end, I'm fine with it. I loved her character.
Mine was Robb Stark.
Yeah, I can see that.
He was the guy that was like, didn't want the responsibility, but like took it when he needed to, but wasn't as much like, wasn't emo like Jon Snow. Like I like Jon Snow, but I feel like at times he got a little bit too like,
well, I think his
pensive.
Story really bred that entirely.
Yeah.
Like, that was always going to be his, like, fatal flaw, you know?
Yeah. So Robb Stark was the guy that I was really into. Although obviously Tyrion Lannister is his some of his one-liners in the show are
No, he's fantastic.
So, like, I like him.
He's my favorite, but he's definitely top 3 for me.
Also, the Viper, before he died.
I like the Viper.
Before he got his head
crushed like a watermelon.
Oh my god, one of the craziest scenes I've ever seen. But yeah, that show set up, I think, a lot of possibilities and the potential for what we can see from fantasy. Because remember back in the day, we watched the Chronicles of Shannara?
Yeah.
And that show was, like, such an interesting premise. But clearly didn't have the budget.
The execution just wasn't
Didn't
there.
have the budget to back it up. And so it's like now that we're seeing The Witcher and everything they can do.
That could be done so spectacularly if they do it again. Like if they would just read, they'd be incredible.
Yeah, the Chronicles of Shannara. If you did that right, it would be great.
Yeah.
But The Witcher is fantastic. Season 2 is going to be insane, I feel like. I love Henry Cavill. I know some are not fans of him as Superman. I think he does a good job there. I absolutely love him as The Witcher. And I'm excited to see where season 2 goes with that. Um, but I don't know. There's so many other options for fantasy realms that I would like to see turned into shows or just original concepts. Like, okay, so for those of you who don't know, Chronicles of Shannara is like the world went through is post-apocalyptic, right? So there's like hints of old technology and stuff, but now we've got elves and magic and stuff like that in the world because that's kind of risen in place of the technology that almost destroyed the world or did destroy parts of it. That's such an interesting concept to me. There's a video game I play, Horizon Zero Dawn, that's kind of a similar thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have technology. That one you have robot dinosaurs that you fight. It's actually pretty cool. So yeah, I think there's a lot of stories like that that can be told. Now that we know, okay, TV is viable for this. You could do it. Cartoons. I feel like cartoons now between anime and regular cartoons are getting less of the rap that they used to be getting. Speaking of cartoons, this is a little side note. We should watch some of the DC cartoons because those are the best DC movies out there.
Okay.
They are.
Do you have a couple in mind that you've heard are
yes,
really good?
yeah. There's a couple that are fantastic. One of them, some of them are really dark though, like really dark. Like there's one, The Killing Joke, where Joker beats one of the Robins. Like
I think you've told me about this actually. Yeah.
There's also they have. I think there's movies with Damian Wayne, which is Bruce Wayne's son, when he because he's raised by the League of Assassins. Oh my god, it's a better medium.
Wasn't there some sort of to kind of circle around slightly? Wasn't there some speculation that the new Robert Pattinson movie was gonna kind of hint at that, or kind of take that turn into it maybe being because they have or at least maybe that's just what I've read, and it could just be complete speculation.
Turn about what?
Using Damian Wayne and the League of Assassins and how this is gonna be not your standard Batman.
Yeah, from what I read, it's not gonna be League of Assassins because that's already been done with Christian Bale's Batman.
That's true.
What I read is gonna be the Court of Owls. We're a secret society. It's gonna be.
Well, they've already shown that, haven't they?
A little bit, yeah. It's gonna be full detective Batman.
Okay.
Instead of crime fighting specifically, he's gonna be hunting for clues, interrogation.
Which I kind of get behind because I love Sherlock.
I feel like it's the best way to have a Batman if you're not gonna have Superman in the same world, and if it's not leading to a Justice League.
That makes sense.
Because the problem is, you can have some of his superpowered enemies, but they're not like Doomsday, right?
Yeah.
Amping up Detective Batman into fighting Darkseid Batman is difficult. That's why the Ben Affleck Batman is a better fit for that. We just don't get enough of his backstory to know why is he so tormented? Why is he willing to murder when that's so against Batman's creed? Stuff that's been missing. So
yeah, I think Ben Affleck as well would be well suited for a role like that because he was in the movie The Accountant.
Yeah,
and he plays roles very similarly like that, and he's really good at them. So I think just DC Universe stepping up a little. And
I feel like the only issue with Batfleck and Ben Affleck in general is that because he does do directing and stuff like that, he probably wants so much creative control.
Probably
that it's gotta be a bit difficult. Back to the high fantasy stuff.
Yeah.
What was your favorite series while you were younger? That was kind of...
Or movies, TVs, books.
Yeah, anything.
Anything? Oh, Jesus. I think, again, it kind of went in stages, right? When I was really interested in, Criminal Minds was one of my absolute favorite shows for a really long time. A really, really long time. I think that was what got me started in, binging different kinds of books that led into like the vampire series, and of course like being 14 when Twilight came out, that was a big one. I loved the originals, but I wouldn't say that was one of my favorites. I think God, I don't know. I think I'd be easier at picking like a book series, and I think some of the best book series that I've written have been from Sarah Maas, and a lot of hers are like strictly high fantasy. Like she has one about a female assassin. She has one about like a court of high fae. I gravitate, I think, more towards a strong female character.
Yeah.
And I think because of that, there's certain books and authors that I'll gravitate towards more than TV series or movies that stood out. Yeah, I can't think of a TV series or movie right now that stood out when I was younger as one of my favorite. It's more of like a progression of going from like the study of like humans and like the mind and then going into like the little things that could be hidden amongst humanity. And like that little bit of magic that's out there, almost on like the conspiracy theory side of things, where like, where do the stories come from? There's gotta be a reason these stories started, like the vampires and the werewolves and that little bit of magic that could still kind of be hiding, you know? And then just taking that to the extreme of like, no, now we're operating in a completely different realm where none of this matters and humans barely play a role.
Yeah, I get you. So one of my favorites growing up was Redwall Abbey. So it was a series. There was no magic, but it was literal rodents, and they were like monks and like people and warriors and stuff like that. And it was just so interesting. I don't know why that always stuck with me, but I feel like the writing was fantastic, but I read all of those books and I really enjoyed them. And then there's also this space sci-fi fantasy thing, the Death Stalker saga, that's like more brutal. Mm-hmm. And I read that even then. I read it like as a teen, and I was like, yeah, it was like mature Star Wars.
Okay.
So like I'm huge into Star Wars and Dungeons and Dragons and Warhammer and all that stuff, but like that series stuck with me because it was just felt like gritty and like brutal, you know?
Yeah.
More how I would feel like space colonization would actually be.
I can see that.
Like a survival of the fittest, everyone doing their best to try to keep control. So
if I had to pick like I think a TV series or something of that like sort that I could just rewatch and binge the way I do with books, it would probably either be Game of Thrones or The Witcher. Just in that like high fantasy category of something that I can watch over and over and over and still like thoroughly enjoy.
Yeah, I feel like we gotta find some other options along that same path.
I really like The Dragon Prince as well, but I don't know if they're ever coming out with that next
season. That's already been confirmed for season 2.
Oh, it is?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that one was really, really good.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And then lastly, so you haven't watched a lot of anime, but you did watch Naruto with me. Mm-hmm. I know it frustrated you because a lot of the female characters get the shaft. I know that's partially fixed in Boruto, but I'm probably not gonna watch that because it feels like less so in the later seasons, but in the early seasons it feels like kid geared, like, and I've talked about this before with the Star Wars movies. It's like sometimes things are targeting a certain generation and it's not your generation, so it doesn't feel like it's a good fit. Star Wars, the newer Star Wars movies are always geared towards new Star Wars fans with hints towards the old ones. I feel like Boruto is meant to bring in new fans.
That makes sense, yeah.
You know? But if you were to watch an anime, what would you want? What would you want to see the most in it? What would draw you the most to an anime? What was your favorite parts of like Naruto? Like in general, it doesn't have to be specific scenes, but like, what would get you into an anime? Full stop.
Okay, so there is actually an anime we were just talking about when we bought the Witcher sword.
Oh, yes. By the way, my wife bought a sword from The Witcher. It's his silver sword. It is fantastic. Yeah, check Twitter for that because it's amazing. But
I've been scaring the dogs learning sword tricks.
was it though? It was the shoot. It was something goblin, I think, right?
Yeah. We were in the store and you saw like a pin for it.
Yeah, but it's not.
And it sounded amazing. Like we were going to watch it, and now I can't remember what it's called.
It was a high fantasy anime. I'm gonna have to look it up. There's so many animes that we haven't watched. I know everyone is recommended, and we're waiting to get. We're probably gonna have Funimation soon or Crunchyroll, whichever one it's on, to watch Demon Slayer.
Oh yeah, we did talk about that.
Because I've heard that one's really good. But what? Okay, so of the parts of Naruto that you liked,
all right,
what are you looking for in an ideal anime?
I don't know. I think I like grade and enjoy anime a little bit differently than like the styles that I like read and consume in like movies and regular TV. My favorite character in Naruto. I don't know. Maybe that's like a basic answer as well.
Not your favorite character.
No,
Your favorite character is Kakashi.
Yeah. But I think I'm trying to figure out like what exactly it was that I liked about him. It was just I don't know if it was something that was more relatable in him, but
I can tell you what it is, and it's the fact that he was like there as the father figure, and like he was like cool, and like you know what I'm saying, would show up and like someone would come in and he'd just grab him and just stop him.
He was a badass, yeah.
But he'd also be there as like the support figure for the children, basically.
Yeah. And he loved reading smut, which I appreciate.
he was reading 50 Shades over there. So I feel like all those are the combination. So I understand why. Kakashi's fantastic.
I did like Grandma Tsunade, and I liked that. Like of all the previous like Hokage that they had, they did choose her. That was an interesting turn that I think I could appreciate. But I think like in an anime going forward, if we are gonna go like full high fantasy, I really liked the Dragon Prince. I liked like the elves, the dragons.
Well, we don't have to go high fantasy. That's the beauty of anime. There's so many options. There's like pirate anime. There's like ninja anime.
I used to be thoroughly obsessed with like mermaids and pirates and that sort of thing. So I could see that direction being pretty entertaining. But I don't know exactly what I'd be looking for in an anime. I don't think I've watched enough.
Yeah. I guess
Other
I would
than,
go...
like, the female characters not being absolutely shit on as secondary useless characters and being very generic, I can't stand that.
Yeah, I feel like that's why we'll probably watch more modern anime that are written now.
Yeah.
Because it's the same thing as watching older TV shows or movies.
Yeah, I don't want a scared, submissive female character who just needs saving all the time. That's not what I'm here for.
For me, as with the superhero stuff, it's the fight scenes, right? Naruto appeals to me because it's got some of the best fight scenes I've seen on any medium in a long time. When Rock Lee drops his weight to fight Gaara.
They're like, what's that gonna do?
And then,
just explodes.
It's like, so talk about like fan service type things. That's what I love that stuff. If you can give me moments that get me like, holy shit, let's go. So like we were watching that, right? And I've like the first time I had remembered seeing that part, I must have skipped that arc for whatever reason when I watched it, or I skipped part of it anyway. I was up. I was like 2 feet from the TV, and I was like, all right, I'm in. I'm all in. And then, so in that scene, it's also great because Gaara ends up winning. So Rock Lee still loses, but he comes like closer than anyone could have. And then Gaara is about to kill Rock Lee when my guy slides in and deflects this. So like, it kind of showed that like a little bit of like, oh, you can only go so far with certain strength, but also the kids pale in comparison to the
the
adults at the time. You know what I'm saying? So I that's what I like. I like some of the character development is really good in that show.
Yeah, but I think a good amount of pandering is fine.
Yeah,
I think I need a good character arc. Like how Sakura finally became useful and like kind of came into her own and was like an actual player on the team.
Well, the crazy part is, right, if you were to take Sasuke and Naruto out of the equation, she is strong throughout.
Yeah,
because
they don't give her that spotlight.
Because she's a healer because of her strength,
yeah,
etc. But Sasuke and Naruto are just on a different level. Mm-hmm. And that's unfortunate. Even at the end, I really like Naruto's character when she does it. But like for me, the best characters in that show are the ones who are on that second tier.
My favorite character arc was Gaara.
Mine is Shikamaru.
Ooh, no, well,
Shikamaru between losing Asuma and getting his vengeance and just
but his like character in his beliefs, I don't think changes. He just kind of grows into himself. Whereas Gaara truly transforms as a character. Yeah,
that's true. I just like Shikamaru because, like, he's always there. Like, he's Naruto's actual best friend.
Yeah. He's mad dependable and, like, a great character in general.
Yeah. Oh,
but he doesn't, like, his character doesn't really transform. He just kind of comes into his own and is, like, truly the badass he pretty much always was as a kid.
Yeah.
You know? He just gets highlighted for it, I think.
But when they first show him, like, he seems super weak.
No, he's lazy. They pin him to be lazy throughout the whole series. Not necessarily weak. But he doesn't want to do it. They keep pinning him as very capable.
Well, yeah, but when he was super smart, but like he didn't seem like he'd be able to match up with like some of the heavy hitters. But then as he develops, like he starts to be like, okay, I can use my abilities.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, but you think about it, like the whole time. The crazy thing is, like I said, Sakura probably could beat like Choji and those types of people. Ino could beat them throughout the show. It's just because of the power gap and how outrageous Naruto and Sasuke
I think Sakura had not maybe like such a cataclysmic like point in her storyline like Shikamaru did, where like his catalyst was obviously like Asuma dying and like him having to just kind of step up and you know use his strengths to his advantage. Whereas I think she had similar moments like that. She had moments where like whether within like her own dialogue or like in the story plot, like she realized I'm not helping anyone.
Yeah.
I'm like causing them to have to turn around and protect me, and they're getting hurt, and I'm sitting here not able to do anything. That's when like she's like, I have to change that.
But that goes back to the point that those Kakashi, Naruto, and Sasuke are so strong. They're fighting threats that are beyond what their level should be for like Naruto and Sasuke for their age and stuff like that. 100%. So like she's not really like, if she had been with any other team, she would have been solid and good.
Yeah.
That's the hard part of the anime, I think. The other issue with her is obviously the fact that Sasuke tries to kill her all the time, and she's still like desperately in love with him and stuff like that. I
loathe that whole relationship. I can't stand it.
But like Sasuke and Boruto is a completely different character.
They spent like the first like 80 episodes just painting her as like a lovesick puppy dog, not interested really in training, being very smart and good at the things she's studying, but never using them because she doesn't care. All she wants to do is get Sasuke to look at her twice.
Yeah. No, I will admit that's very, very difficult and different for, like, it's difficult to relate to that character and be like, okay, I appreciate this character going through this. No, it's like, this is kind of
I can appreciate it. I just don't like it. Like, it's not the type of character that I enjoy.
Yeah, no, I completely understand that, so... But, I mean, we've been talking for well over an hour now, so that's about going to do it for this episode.
Okay.
I hope you had fun. It was a good blast. I'm glad we finally got to do this. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to the dogs. What'd you think of your first ever podcast?
It was fun. Also, you didn't acknowledge that Arya's been here the whole time. She's just been hanging out, being moral support. And you didn't boof or moo?
No, she
time.
just desperate for any attention, especially when her sisters are not around. So, anyway, thank you guys for tuning in, stopping by, and hanging out. I appreciate each and every one of you. Make sure you hit that like button on whatever platform you are. Share it on social media. It helps a lot. My name is JoPa. This has been The Writer's Thoughts, and I'll catch you all later.